Not me, us. Because he has a consistent track record, right? Everybody can look it up. Do you know that he is called the Amendment King? Because he votes with his conscience. If you feel on a gut level that you will support President Sanders all the way to the White House, stand up!
¿Queremos ver a Bernie Sanders en la Casa Blanca? Do we want to see Bernie in the White House? Sí se puede. ¿Dónde están los latinos por Bernie? He visto muchos jóvenes latinos aquí y a ustedes les tengo una misión. Ustedes deben llevar el mensaje de Bernie Sanders a sus padres, sus abuelos, sus tíos. Now, I'm a mother. I think you guessed. I'm an immigrant, right? Well, yes, I'm Colombian. I'm a proud Latina. I was news director for Univision in Nevada. And I can tell you that I'm proud of my past, and I'm proud of everything I accomplished. But something is clear now for me. What Bernie and this campaign have brought to my life is a gift. As a journalist, I never crossed the line between information and opinion, but in life, sometimes you have to make decisions. And you have to decide what kind of role you want to play. And I decided to play a more active role. Because like you, I believe in change. And like you, I want to stop unfair deportations and separation of families. If you haven't volunteered for the campaign, please do it. Can we count on you? ¿Qué dicen los latinos?
I started my own activism last year with the Black Lives Matter movement. I wanted to ensure that little black and brown kids like my nephew Jaden would not have to wonder if they would receive justice if they were targeted by the same people that were supposed to protect them because of the color of their skin. I loved hearing Bernie talk with Harry Belafonte at the historic Apollo Theater about marching with Martin Luther King, being arrested in Chicago for fighting against segregation. Then on that same stage at the Apollo Theater, he boldly took a stand to talk about another group of people that are often neglected, the Palestinian people, that both sides need should be considered to bring about peace. I would also like to mention that that night, I went and Googled it and found out that he gave the same speech in 1988. The man has a little bit of foresight. I heard him on stage in Brooklyn be the first and only candidate to say that we owe a great debt to the Black Lives Matter movement for bringing awareness to systemic racism in law enforcement. As an activist, Bernie stands with us. He stands with the fight against Wall Street corruption, income inequality, environmental racism. He stands with the fight for 15. Poor people of color are most likely to join the military because they think they have no other option. They are also most likely to be arrested. Many of them saw their option as limited to war or jail. Bernie Sanders wants to change that.
One, Bill Gill is what they called me because for 16 years, I worked on a driver's license for immigrant motorists. I learned a little bit about how change happens in this country. And like Senator Sanders, we have shared values and a shared vision for the future of America, a vision that's inclusive of all people. And I'm so proud that of the half dozen states that have given a license in this country to immigrant motorists, Vermont is one of them thanks to the leadership of Senator Bernie Sanders and the governor. This nation was built on a promise that our children will do better than us. The great equalizer, the great thing that makes this country democratic has been public education. A free public education, like what I got when I went to UCLA. That in what? Go Bruins, right? And my father came to Los Angeles and worked at American Can Company and was a union activist. And he didn't do that for himself, he did that for me. Just like your parents did for you. Because he knew with public education that in one generation, his son could be called senator, right? And that's why Bernie Sanders wants free college and free state education. See, I love his no votes because I was with him. And I was with labor, and I was with all the organizations, the Latino civil rights organizations that said, Bernie Sanders, please vote no on this horrible bill. We want immigration reform that doesn't compromise the dignity and respect of immigrants who come here for a better life.
Let me tell you something. You never get too old for this. You don't get too old for this. Every single one of you know that we're making history here. Men and women, young people, cross colored lines, change history. They come together to change history because they have no choice but to change history. They know that the truth stares them in the face. It affects their lives every single day. It affects whether they work. It affects whether they go to jail. It affects whether they get an education. They know that, and they have no choice but to come here. Bernie, he knows that the planet, this precious Mother Earth, is what nourishes us. We know that it's important that we take this step right now. We are the faces. We are the moral consciousness. Whenever we look at the history of Bernie Sanders, we know that he has been on the compass for justice. We have it in our hands to begin to build the movement for not only us here today, but for the future of everything that we think about, for the future of every dream that we have. He brought us together because he knows your story. He embraces your story. He talks about building a community of love. He talks about building a community of justice, and he stands for justice. That's why I'm here. Every vote is a commitment to the truth. Every vote is here to build a movement of real change. That's what we're here for. And it's important that we get out here on June 7th and make sure our voice is heard. We have 3 weeks here. We do it with passion, we do it with love, we do it with commitment, and we deal with here. Thank you very much.
I wanna thank you all for coming out. And by the way, I should tell you that there are a lot of people out there, many of the pundits and politicians, they say Bernie Sanders should drop out. The people of California should not have the right to determine who the next president will be. Well, let me be as clear as I can be. I agree with you. We are in to the last ballot is cast. As of today, we have won 19 state primaries and caucuses and over 9 million votes. And don't tell Secretary Clinton she might get nervous. I think we're going to win here in California. And as all of you know, California has 475 pledged delegates. We have received a significant majority of the votes of young people. Social justice, economic justice, racial justice, and environmental justice. That is the future of this country. And by the way, now some people say that we've got a steep hill to climb to do that, and that is absolutely true. But you know what? Together, we have been climbing that steep hill from day one in this campaign. We are going to continue to fight for every last vote until June 14th, and then we're going to take our fight into the convention. I am very proud to tell you that I am the only candidate running for president who does not have a super PAC. We made a decision when we began this campaign that we were not going to beg Wall Street or corporate America or billionaires for campaign contributions. And as of today, without a super PAC, we have received almost 8 million individual campaign contributions. You can run a strong, winning national campaign without begging billionaires for campaign contributions. Virtually every national and state poll taken in the last 6 weeks, in all of those polls, we are defeating Donald Trump. In almost every case, whether it is a national poll or a state poll, we do much better against Trump than does Secretary Clinton. If the Democratic Party wants to be certain that Donald Trump is defeated, we together are the campaign to do that. The grassroots capability to make certain that in November, in the general election, we have a huge voter turnout. Here is a political truism. When the voter turnout is low and people are demoralized and don't come out to vote, Republicans win. When there is excitement and energy and people are prepared to stand up and fight back, progressives and Democrats win. That is our campaign. The Democratic Party is going to have to make a very, very profound and important decision. It can do the right thing and open its doors and welcome into the party people who are prepared to fight for real economic and social change. That is the Democratic Party I want to see, bringing in people who are willing to take on Wall Street, take on corporate greed, and to take on a fossil fuel industry which is destroying this planet. So I say to the leadership of the Democratic Party, open the doors, let the people in. Now, I come from the working class of this country, and I will be damned if we will allow the Republican Party, whose job is to represent the rich and the powerful, to win the votes of working class Americans. We are telling the American people the truth. Here is a very important truth. If we as a nation do not get our act together, this great nation is going to slip into an oligarchic form of society where a handful of billionaires control our political and economic life. The American people are sick and tired of billionaires running our economy and our political life. I want this country to be a vibrant democracy. And that means whether you're progressive, conservative, moderate, if you want to run for office, you should not have to beg millionaires for campaign contributions. Our job is to take on Wall Street, not to take their money. And I thank the trade union movement for creating the American middle class. Federal minimum wage of $7.25 is a starvation wage. Secretary Clinton wants to raise that to $12 an hour. That's okay, but it is not good enough. Hold that sign up. Let everybody see it. We're talking about a fight for $15 an hour. I am proud to tell you I have been on the picket line with those workers. Got some of them here. Workers in the fast food industry went out on strike. after the strikes and the demonstrations in Seattle, here in Los Angeles, in San Francisco, $15 an hour. And if I have anything to say about it, and I will as president, $15 an hour in every state in this country. My wife just tells me that CNN has called Oregon for Bernie Sanders. We won a great victory in the state of Washington a few months ago. We just won Oregon, and we're going to win California. I am getting to like the West Coast. I will tell you what all of you know, and that is that climate change is real, and as everybody in California knows, it is already causing devastating problems. We have a moral obligation to transform our energy system away from fossil fuel to energy efficiency and sustainable energy. We need a tax on carbon. I believe we should move to a ban on fracking. That is my view. Unfortunately, it is not Secretary Clinton's view. In fact, she was Secretary of State. She pushed fracking technology onto countries around the world. What this campaign is about is whether or not we are going to create an economy that works for all of us, or an economy that continues to work for the 1%. It is not acceptable to me that in my state of Vermont and here in California, and all over this country, we have millions of people who are working not one job, but 2 jobs and 3 jobs to cobble together the income and health care they need. Yet when mom works, dad works, and the kids work, it ends up that 58% of all new income goes to the top 1%. That is not acceptable. And young people are asking me, how does it happen that when they do the right thing, when they go out and get the best education they can, they end up $30,000, $50,000, $70,000 in debt? We should not be punishing people for getting an education. We should reward them. 40, 50 years ago, if you had a high school degree, you were in pretty good shape. You could go out, get yourself a good job. Those days, by and large, are gone. We need to have the best educated workforce in the world. What this campaign is about is thinking outside of the box, outside of the status quo. Every other major country on earth guarantees health care to all of their people as a right. The Affordable Care Act has done some very good things, but we have a lot more to do. Health care is a right, not a privilege. No real change has ever occurred in our country from the top on down. It has always been from the bottom on up. There were African Americans and their allies who were prepared to go to jail, who stood up and said, the day will come in this country when we will end racism and bigotry and segregation. Think about where we were as a country 100 years ago, not such a long time ago. 100 years ago, women in America did not have the right to vote, could not get the education or the jobs they wanted. But women stood up and fought back. The gay community and their straight allies stood up against incredible bigotry, against all kinds of abuse, and they said together that in this country people should have the right to love whoever they want, regardless of their gender. If the American people, if we stand together as black, white, Latino, as Native American and Asian American, if we stand together as gay and straight male and female, if we stand together as people born in this country and people who have come into this country, if we stand together and have the courage to take on the billionaire class, to demand a government which represents all of us and not just the 1%, together there is nothing we cannot accomplish. Show the world that you are prepared to help lead our nation into the political revolution. Thank you very much.